to go. All right, so next up we have Stephanie Geno from Innovid, Myles Dacio from Allergan, and James O'Brien from Digiday, who are going to be talking about connected TV and the Omni-Channel mix. So I'll hand it over to them.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Digiday's Business of TV Forum. We're so glad you're here. We know also that we're looking at the other end of a massive time of change in which the pandemic and the quarantines that came with it drastically accelerated the shift of viewership from linear to CTV. And with all of that in mind, Digiday and Innovid, our sponsor in the CTV ad delivery and measurement space, have surveyed more than 100 brand marketers over the past several months and agency executives as well. And we've asked them how they responded to all of that change, the shift of budget, strategy changes, how did their ad tech vendors help them achieve their goals? We're taking a full sounding of the industry. And today, we're going to have a conversation with two individuals who are deeply immersed in that change and in that response. Joining us is Myles Dacio, who's the Senior Manager of Performance Marketing at Allergan Aesthetics, and also Stephanie Geno, who is here as the Chief Marketing Officer at Innovid. And we're going to talk about what they've seen, how they've seen their own partners and people in the ecosystem investing in and working together on CTV solutions. Myles and Stephanie, welcome to the live stream.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's get started. The idea here is to think about teams working together. It's certainly been a collaborative space across different solutions that we've been tracking, whether that's identity and addressability, or in this case, CTV and all it encompasses. So we'll start with you, Stephanie. Tell us how the two teams have been working together, and then pitch it to Myles, and Myles, take us into the work that you've been doing with Innovid.
Yeah, I mean, so big picture, I would say 2020 was a transformational year for many, if not most advertisers. Both the pace and the amount of change that took place, especially in the TV space, drove a complete pivot in terms of strategies and tactics being leveraged by marketers worldwide. You know, with Allergan specifically, we spent the past year really reimagining our strategy. We knew that we needed to focus on filling the gap left by the decline of linear TV by starting to layer in CTV with some really high quality publishers. And it opened up the opportunity for us to do a lot more creatively than we ever had before. We started to really go beyond awareness and brought shoppability to the big screen by starting to incorporate some interactive formats into the mix. We've also really been focused on how do we scale CTV media buying. You know, there's a lot of great work that the Allergan team has been doing with various partners, such as the Trade Desk, and we really leaned into how can we connect the ecosystem and bring all of these forces together. And I would say the other big area we've been working on is in measurement, right? You know, the reality is that CTV allows us to make TV more addressable. And when TV is addressable and when TV is transacted in a more real-time basis, it allows us to start thinking about optimization, and it makes that a reality. So we've really been diving deep into CTV insights that are available through our platform so we can both uncover and act on an in-flight understanding of unique reach, unique frequency, and start to really optimize our investments within campaigns, as well as apply those learnings to the future.
That's a lot, and you've been busy. Myles, you've been on one end of this partnership as well with your team. Take us into what that's been like. What have been the steps and the highlights that you bring to the table when it comes to what you've been working on together?
I mean, I think Stephanie really covered it all. Our CTV strategy, buying on CTV was non-existent before we partnered with them. We had no idea what the capabilities were of CTV. We knew it was important. We knew that we needed to start investing. We saw the decline in linear, but Innovid really partnered with us and helped educate us on the changing landscape, on what the capabilities are for CTV, how we can start developing, and Stephanie mentioned the shoppability. That was huge for us. As a performance marketer, someone that comes from this direct response world where it's all about getting those clicks, all about getting those users to convert here and now, having that ability for not only awareness, but shoppability and driving that direct response for consumers was amazing. It was a game changer for us. And we are so excited to continue this relationship with Innovid and all the new learnings and education we can explore together as CTV continues to expand.
Right on. And you know, we've been talking to a lot of folks through the process of the survey, and our respondents, Stephanie, have come to us. And one of the things we can say is that all of this work, I mean, it sounds like a lot because it is, it's also been happening over some time now. It's not just that somebody threw a switch in 2020 and suddenly it was all CTV, although it certainly accelerated a whole lot. Our respondents in the survey that we're working on told us that they've been investing more than half of their ad dollars in some cases into these channels, going back now 36 months or so, and all the way up to the time frame of, say, the past year. So I guess for you, Myles, thinking about that data that we've found, tell me a little bit about how Allergan has responded across the past couple of years. Has it changed its TV marketing strategy? Has it seen this acceleration, whether in the near term or going back even further?
100%. Like I mentioned earlier, we've seen this change and we have shifted dollars and a significant amount more than we've ever seen into OTT, into OLV, into CTV, understanding that these light TV viewers are so important. As more and more people cut the cord, we still need to reach them, inform them, and build adherence for all of our brands.
And keeping an eye, I imagine, Myles, on the strategies since you've launched them. I mean, our respondents are talking about things like brand awareness, engagement, conversions. What's been an example of, or a couple of examples of what you've seen when it comes to these strategies and how they translate into performance for CTV brand campaigns?
Great question. For me, one campaign really sticks out. It was our best performing campaign of all time here at Allergan Data Labs, the Juvederm Lips campaign. We partnered with Innovid, and for the first time ever, we ran not only CTV, but we ran a shoppable CTV ad unit, where it allowed someone to scan a QR code or text an SMS code, and then drive to a landing page and claim an offer. We saw over 1,000 people claim that offer. I did not know, and no one knew, that CTV had this capability. Again, coming from that performance marketing background, that was a game changer for us. Seeing that we aren't only driving awareness, but lower funnel tactics as well, and then tying that into our other channels of paid search, paid social, other programmatic channels, display, video, it is providing a holistic approach that's driving not only more conversions, but more awareness ever than we've seen.
You're not alone. I mean, I think that one of the observations across the research that Custom does here at Digiday Media is talk to people about these things. And even a year ago, that performance angle wasn't as quickly on the minds and coming to the conversation as it is now. Something in that acceleration definitely brings it to light in a way that's really on point right now. So I definitely hear what you're saying there. One for you, Stephanie, thinking about our research. Some of the other things that we've been thinking about and talking about together as we do this is that CTV strategies don't exist in a bubble. They're running alongside other channels, of course, social, display advertising, mobile video. When you look at the world out there, at the universe of CTV from Innovid's point of view, talk to us about how it fits, how connected TV fits into a larger omnichannel strategy right now.
Yeah, I would say that a huge appeal of CTV advertising is that it can fit seamlessly within an omni-channel strategy, right? As we see more and more of the traditional media channels, such as TV, but also audio and out of home, start shifting to be more digital, it really opens up a host of opportunities. We're seeing brands no longer viewing CTV as purely an extension of linear television, but are starting to embrace it as a primary advertising channel that fits into that larger strategy. And this is a big deal because omni-channel strategies are a huge focus for brands these days, especially those that have lost a lot of those traditional channels that they've relied on historically. Point of sale, word of mouth, live events, right? Those things don't exist in this current environment. So we're definitely seeing more marketers approach TV ad buying with a digital mindset. We're seeing them focus on impressions as that primary currency and start to incorporate strategies that include both addressability as well as personalization, something that just is not possible in the linear space. But I will say that the upside, it doesn't come without a downside, right? You can't check the news without seeing a new streaming provider, a new social platform entering the mix. And so it has taken an already complex ecosystem and added a couple of new walled gardens into the mix. And what that means is that to really win in omnichannel advertising these days, you as an advertiser need to be able to integrate across them all, right? TV works. It is why billions of dollars are still invested here, but it has traditionally lived in a silo. And, our hypothesis and what we've proven over the course of the last, nearly decade in this space is that it can work a lot harder for you when you tie it back into a holistic strategy and you do the hard work of connecting those dots for your consumer.
Yes. And let's stay with that for just a second. We have time for one more question, but we'll cheat a little bit, and I'll ask each of you to answer the last question. We'll start with you, Myles. It's sort of a speed round. Think of it this way. So if we think about that holistic strategy, to your way of thinking, Myles, from what you've seen with your team, name an essential lesson or best practice, one of them, for integrating CTV into a future marketing strategy. What's the drop dead, can't miss it, one thing that you'd recommend any team consider right off the bat?
Measurement. And I think Stephanie talked about that earlier. The ability to measure CTV in a way that's never been addressed before, measuring exposures, driving it back to actual visits, store visits, offer claims, that has never been done before on our end. And it's something that is so important to us. And it goes back to the question, why run media, right? Why run linear if you can't truly measure it? And I think CTV solves that question. We can run CTV and actually measure it back to the impression, to the IP. And that is just so important for us here as a performance marketing team.
Yeah, I would just
say— One more to you, to you, Stephanie, right on point. I mean, just thinking about just the power of that one word, as you said it, Myles, measurement. Same thing then to you, Stephanie. I think you're about to jump in and you know what you're going to say. What's the one thing that you're going to recommend needs to be part of any future marketing strategy?
Yeah, so first, measurement, 100% agree with Myles. It's not something we can ignore, but I would also say a lot of the opportunity in CTV comes back to the combination of data and creativity, right? If digital has taught our industry anything in the last few years, it is that pure reach is only half the battle, right? Eyeballs don't directly equal ROI. And so you need to make sure that your message is connecting with consumers on a more personal level. Your message needs to be creative, it needs to be innovative, and it needs to provide value versus being that creepy annoyance that sometimes happens in this space. Personalization is something that we have embraced. It's a part of our everyday lives right now, from Amazon recommendations to the curated watch list you get on Hulu. And, I will say, I know that it can seem daunting to think about personalization. It can feel like boiling the ocean. But this is an area that we've invested a ton of time and effort into, and the effort is absolutely worth it. When we look at this past year, standard pre-roll advertising versus advanced creative, we saw advanced creative drew a 309% lift in engagement and an average of 34 seconds of additional time earned. Interactive CTV generated an incremental 63 seconds of time earned. And so that means that people are choosing to actively spend a minute plus with your brand above and beyond that standard 30-second spot when you start to take advantage of what is possible creatively within the CTV ecosystem. So, I think it's important to just personalize, but again, like everything else we've talked about, not to do it in silos. Right? CTV, it has been dubbed the future of television. I'd argue it's the future of advertising. And what that means is the possibilities for advancing creativity are really, really high. And we're going to continue to see a ton of innovation here.
I love that you dropped all that data in there. I mean, that's the stuff of what we do and what we're doing together. And we're going to drop a lot more data in the near future on May 27, when the Innovid and Digiday Media report comes out, and we'll be able to share all the findings. But I want to thank you, Myles, and thank you, Stephanie, for the insights that you brought to the live stream today. The Business of TV Forum continues. Everyone keep watching. Look for our report when it drops next week, and we'll see you next time. Back to you, Digiday.